Joining me is Dr. Bob Weil, known as Dr. Bob, who is a respected sports podiatrist and radio host of the Sports Doctor. He's back on the show for the Sports Doctor is In segment on Run With It. This month, we're going to be talking about choosing the right shoe. And we can always have fun talking about this. We've had it last time, Dr. Bob, many times we talked about choosing the right shoe. So welcome back.
Hey, it's always good to be with you with our Sports Doctors In segment. And I had a couple of questions people flew by me too, one on shin splints. But shoes is a key topic if you're a runner or if you're active or if you're a specific sport athlete. And one of the biggest challenges, Christine, we've talked about it before, and it really pays big attention, is we need to be fit properly. You'd be amazed that over 40% of people, all of us, are not fit properly, whether it's for our regular shoes or for a sports shoe. Good news is that to be fit properly, the best place to go is a good running shoe store, a good walking shoe store, where they really pay attention to that. One of the biggest mistakes made is in width sizing, when mistakes are made in size. So we want to make sure that we are fit properly. And the seasons are changing. The seasons are changing where you are. They're starting to change where I am. And we tell people, they ask all the time, how often should I change my shoes if I'm a runner? You know, if you're somebody running 40, 50 miles a week, you should be changing your shoes probably 3 times a year, at least twice a year. No matter how expensive, the shock absorbing materials wear down, they start to bottom out. So we don't want to wait till we have holes in the shoes. We want to understand if we're doing a lot of activity, and if we're playing a season, if your son or daughter is playing soccer season, tennis season, whatever it is, then you really want to be at least each season changing the shoe and paying big attention to whether that shoe, for example, is rolling in or rolling out. I see you got that running shoe behind you there. I'll use that as an example. Let's look at the back of the heel.
Yes.
Okay, as if you were walking in front of me. The fact that that's vertical, the fact that we cut a line that on the back of the heel is vertical and it's not tilted in or tilted out is very important. You'd be surprised, again, that shoes that are sold are one way deviated or the other, especially if they're bought online, where you can't be paying attention to them. So you want to be fit properly. You want to pay attention to that rear foot. Now, the same rear foot you were holding, most of the time we want a solid heel counter. The back of the shoe, the heel counter, okay, needs to be fairly rigid so that we can't squeeze the back of the heel. Squeeze the back of the top of the shoe. That's the heel counter. So we want that to be fairly sturdy in your running shoe and in most really sports shoes. And it's very important to pay attention to that. All right, I'll let you put the shoe down for a minute.
Yes.
You know, now, so again, like we talked about, you want to buy a name brand. You're not looking to skimp on trying to find the cheapest shoe. Big mistake. Whether it's for you or your young son or daughter athlete, you want to stick, and there's a lot of great brands. You know, you're holding up with a Kingpin, Nike, there's Adidas, there's New Balance, there's Puma, there's Under Armour, there's Skechers,
Yes.
who all of a sudden has really come on big time in their advertising. And the other thing to understand is, not like cars, the shoe styles and brands change styles every year. So sometimes it becomes very, you know, Doc, I love this particular style, this platonic shoe, and they discontinued it. You know, and what am I going to look to do? So that's always been a challenge, because we do tell people, if you have something that's worked for you, not only is it comfortable, but it's kept you out of all sorts of running related problems, whether it's plantar fasciitis and heel pain and shin splints or knee problems or back problems. If you have something that works well for you, stick with it.
Yes. Yes. And Dr. Bob, save your shoes. Like, you know, you might go for a run or a walk or play some golf. Don't go to the grocery store. Just wear different shoes, like save the life on the shoes.
Great point. I think if you're going to have running shoes, they should be your running shoes. Even if they should be your walking shoes. Again, as there's nothing better for our feet than a good walking shoe, whether you're an 80-year-old great grandmother or you're a young teenager or you're anybody in between. If it comes to what's the best kind of shoe to wear, it's hard to beat a good walking shoe, but they're perishable. And if you wear them every day, you're going to see that they're going to start again to break down. The upper many times will roll one way or the other, or that heel will tilt like we talked about. So you made a great point, which is that you should have your running shoes to be used for running for the most part. I wouldn't hang around in them because they'll wear them down a lot sooner. And the same goes with your good walking shoes.
Yes, and what about shoelaces? Should I had a student in the class said, well, how tight should I tie my shoelaces? And she bought a new pair of runners.
Yes. There's a major nerve and blood vessel runs right down the top of the big toe of the foot, right where you tie the knot. So we always tell people to pay attention to, of course, subjectively be comfortable, number one. If you're feeling pressure against that part, then you might want to loosen the laces. There's been so many advances, changes, options, and it's hard to beat good shoelaces. The newest rave is the slip-ons that you could just walk right in and slip right into them. I wonder why nobody thought of that. Sometimes, darn it, a long time ago. But even the lace pattern many times can be adjusted in order to make somebody more comfortable. I like to use the term pleasantly snug when it comes to almost any sports shoe at all. But you got to pay attention if you say, my foot's going numb, or, I just feel this pressure on the top of my foot, then you might be putting pressure exactly with that knot pressing in against that particular nerve and artery. So again, you might want to move it to a different position. And and a good point. You want to tell the kids, are you comfortable, in your shoes? And we tell parents all the time, no hand-me-downs for sports, where, hey, I'm wearing my big brother's shoes because now they fit me. Not a good idea, almost always. We want to also throw that in there.
Yes. And what about cleaning your shoes too? Like, you bought yourself a new pair of shoes and you want to
great. It's interesting. I don't know if I ever cleaned them my own with walking for a million years. At the same time, there are shoes that supposedly are machine washable. Again, Skechers makes a big deal out of it. My question is, do they hold up? It's like everybody says, believe me, the dryer doesn't shrink your socks. It always does. So I'm very, again, subjective. I would rather hand clean, absolutely, with any kind of a cleaner, the shoe, besides cleaning mud off and all of these other kinds of things if you're really slopping around, that I would do something rather than machine wash and machine dry, which can really beat up the shoes. And if you're a trail runner, by the way, then you really want to pay attention to shoes that are specific, that have more side-to-side stability, like cross trainers, and have the sole of the shoe is made for trails and unstable surfaces. And you and I spoke, for 2 minutes before the show. We talked about running shoes are made for running, one foot in front of the other, not side to side court or field sports, which a lot of times we'll see young kids, they're in a running shoe, the whole world's in running shoe, young kids, and many times they're flying all over the place, running all over the place, and we start seeing ankle injuries much, much more than we might. So we tell parents, if the kid's going to be in a good sneaker, be in a good cross trainer, which he could go play basketball in, or he can go run in, or he can go play football, flag football with, not necessarily that running shoe, which has become very, very popular and by the kids, I mean anywhere from ages 8, 9, 10 to like 12, 13, those kinds of junior high school ages where these kids will be living in their sneakers, high school also, where they'll be living in sneakers. So, and again, they ought to pay attention to what you said. The shoe they play with for sports, they'll leave in the closet until it's time to do the sport. And the other sneakers they might hang around in. It's hard to beat them, like we talked about. I just wouldn't use the same one to play in.
Yes. And for people who would like to get a hold of you, Dr. Bob, where can they go?
If they go to sportsdoctorradio.com and they go over to radio shows, they can go back probably almost 10 years, even though I have reels to reel from 30 years ago. And they could see what the topic is, see who the guest was, listen to whatever they'd like. They can go to newspaper articles, and we write a lot of articles. We do a lot of programs like yours. And at sportsdoctorradio.com, they could find out all that particular information. We have thousands of followers. I can't tell you how many guests I get from Twitter and LinkedIn, thousands of followers, but we have a lot of good sports medicine, health and wellness information. Besides bragging about our radio show, we do have good information that we put on those platforms, and people can find me there, Christine.
Yes, wonderful. Well, it's been great speaking with you, Dr. Bob, live from Chicago and Vancouver, and we'll do this again next month, and we'll run with it. So.
Right. Hey, really perfect. Yes, I always enjoy it, Christine. I don't know how long we've been doing this together. Got to be a good few years.
Yes.
You on my show, me on yours. So see you next time, everybody.